Welcome and good morning, everyone. It is a chilly Thursday morning here in Southfield, Michigan, but happy to warm up a little bit and spend some time with y'all this morning as we talk about today's session. My name is Randy Lober, Growth Marketing Manager here at Action Benefits, and happy to lead today's conversation where we talk a little bit about how artificial intelligence, AI, can help you, your independent insurance agents, with your marketing success. And honestly, this is a topic I'm pretty excited about. I think we're kind of right on the cutting edge of this uh, big revolution in how a lot of work gets done in our society. And I'm excited to kind of really see how the technology continues to develop, but also to give you some real practical tools and tips for using the technology in growing and maintaining your own books of business going forward. All that said, I know there's probably a variety of experience levels in the room and knowledge about generative AI or generative artificial intelligence, which is essentially AI that creates stuff for you. I wanted to get a feel real quickly for what your experience and comfort level is. Is it why, yes, you are a generally awesome individual and you're not quite aware of or know what's going on here with AI yet? Is it B, you've heard of this stuff before, but not used it yet? C, you've used it before, but you're not quite getting results that you like from it, or it's not producing things you want? Or is it D, you're using it and you're getting exactly what you want from it? Go ahead and just type the letter of your response in the chat, please. The chat window can either be found down below me or to your right, depending on how you have your screen configured. I want to give you a few moments to say what your comfort level is, because I'll tailor a lot of today's talking points to where you're at here. And remember, you always have the opportunity to control who sees your chat responses using the caret in the chat window down below. Some of you, like Jacob and Margaret, have chosen to respond publicly. Some of you have chosen to respond privately. Good mix of B's and C's here. You've heard of it but not yet used it, or you've used it maybe once or twice. You're not quite getting what you want from it. So you're in the right place if you're in those camps. I want to show you a little bit about what technologies can do and get your feet wet and give you a little support to kind of dive in here and see what's possible. There's, to be frank, a lot of places we can go with this conversation. We're going to kind of start small, start simple, and start with what's free, right? So you can kind of have a low risk exposure to this. So what we want to do today is help you evaluate some of your AI options. When we talk about AI, probably the first thing that comes to mind is ChatGPT, and that's an okay place to start. But there are a variety of companies, a variety of things out there that really can help you grow your business in a variety of different ways, and especially help you build your marketing presence. So I'll expose you to some of those here today. But we're really going to do a deep dive in with one of those tools. I'll show you some key tips and tricks for using some of those generative kind of text-based AIs, which is, I imagine, probably where many of you would be comfortable starting. And we'll do a semi-live demo of how we can use AI to maybe help boost our social media game, maybe look at an email campaign to existing customers to increase our cross-sell or upsell opportunities. Or if you're looking for a little help with something broader, what should I be doing year-round for my marketing? We'll talk a bit about that too and kind of show you how AI can be a partner in that conversation. So let's talk first about some of the options out there. Just again, to kind of build your awareness and name recognition. Again, we're not going to go deep into all of these. We're only going to go deep in one of these today, but I'm happy to have conversations with you or about any of these going forward. So the first category I want to kind of briefly give you an overview is on the left side of your screen, those sort of text-based generative AI options. These systems here are really good at producing marketing text, marketing copy, or any other kind of copy. And they're also really good at talking with you and helping you refine ideas or find ideas or doing research, those sorts of things as well. So probably the biggest name in that market, in that realm, is ChatGPT. It's taking up a lot of oxygen in the space. There's some other tools out there like Claude, which is what we'll showcase a little bit here today. Google's Gemini tool is fairly unique here. And if if and when you get ready for a paid option. Jasper down below is specifically designed for marketing usage, like we'll talk about here today. It's not the one we're going to showcase today because it's not free. And B, I want to, again, leave you with something that's really accessible for you. AI is also taking leaps in helping you create and refine media as well. Canva up top is one of the ones that Chelsea and I use fairly often in-house. Helps a lot with photo editing, video editing, so on and so forth. Midjourney, if you are in the market for your own images and stock images or creating anything that comes to mind, can be a great opportunity for that. If you're in the market for video creation, Runway can do that, and you can feed into it images from Midjourney as well. If you are looking for help with presentations, things like Dectopus and Slides AI are also good things here. You just kind of give it a few ideas of what you're looking for and how you want to organize it, and with a detailed enough prompt, it puts together a respectable presentation. Kind of puts that organization work to rest for you. Even though you might need to put a human touch on it a little bit later on. Songburst can be really helpful for audio creation if you want to create music or a voice track or something of the sort. If on the business side of things, you're looking at how can AI really make my life easier and maybe automate some things around the office for me, maybe client outreach, or remind me to make some client outreach, or so on and so forth. Things like Zapier and Make can really help you integrate with your current either AMS or your CRM to really make some workflows that either prompt your team to do something or send out communications. Maybe you set up a workflow that says, on every client's birthday and anniversary dates, I want to send them a quick message that seems like it comes right from me. Entirely doable with either or both of those tools. And if you happen to be working in the small group market, there are some lead generation, or large group market for that matter, there are some lead generation tools you can use as well. Things like Bardeen and Copilot are really great at scraping LinkedIn for CEOs or principals or decision makers of firms that you might be targeting, and also help you look for firms with the right headcount you might be targeting. If your wheelhouse is 10 to 25 and you're looking to figure out where all the CEOs or the HR reps in those firms are, those tools can be really helpful in doing so. So again, a brief menu. Happy to talk further about any of those with you on a one-on-one basis or a small group basis if you want to learn more, or heck, if you want me to dive into one of those, another training, let me know. We can do that too. I'm kind of make it broad market. Where I want to spend some time today is what's, again, most accessible and free to you, so you can kind of dive in and play and get a little dangerous with what you see in front of you here. And the tool we're going to use today is Claude.ai. The reason I choose Claude over ChatGPT in this particular instance is because, generally speaking, Claude sounds a little more human, just in the way its programmers, kind of architected and laid out. It gives you more human feeling responses. Sometimes when I look at things made by ChatGPT, they don't pass the sniff test. I know that there's certain keywords and phrases that ChatGPT prefers to put in its writing, or at least does so fairly commonly. And I can kind of pick those out wherever I see them. Claude doesn't fall into those same habits so easily. It was just trained differently. And there are some tricks we can use to kind of make it sound more human here as well. So that is where we are going to start. Before we get into that live demo portion, I want to kind of outline some key tricks and tips. I'm going to talk about a lot of things today, but if there are maybe 5 or 6 things you take away, you want to take a screenshot of, kind of want to outline some of these key principles I'm going to use in the key demo going forward, and then show you what they look like in action. So when we get into generative AI, it's all about the prompt, what you are telling the AI to do. And the best prompts are the most detailed. They really tell the AI what role you want it to play or who you are You want to tell it who it's writing for, in what format, and what topic you want to use. So I'm a health insurance agent. I'm writing to my existing clients. I'm sending them a business letter about adding voluntary life onto their plan, or whatever the case might be. The more detail we use in our prompts the first time around, the better. And there's a few reasons for that. One, it gets you a little bit closer to where you want to be. So if you just say, write me a health insurance blog, it will try that. But without knowing who it's targeting or what the topic is, it might not give you exactly what it is you're wanting. So if you're fell in that C camp earlier, it might be because we need to add a little more detail to that first prompt. The other thing I would always encourage you to do is AI in a lot of ways is like a child. It wants to please you, but give it permission to ask you questions about exactly what you want it to do. And as we'll see in a few moments, the more questions you prompt it, or the more questions you let it ask of you, the farther you'll go, and the more closer to what it is you want to be or want it to create will be done. Generally speaking, the first thing you get out of the AI, even if you do encourage questions and have a detailed first prompt, probably won't be exactly what you're looking for, but you can encourage it to go back and refine things, or you can apply that human touch yourself. And that human touch is always important because, again, you're asking a robot essentially to do the work for you. But robots don't know, for example, CMS compliance rules about using superlatives in your text, like good, better, best, or better coverage, so on and so forth. Can't do that, right? If you're targeting Medicare consumers. So it's always going to need review from you. And again, it may not write exactly how you want it to, especially the first few times around before it really learns your expectations of it. So that human touch is absolutely critical. But once you do lock in on that, you found your sweet spot, there are a few tips and tricks you can use to make it repeatable. So you don't have to go through so much work the next time around, right? And telling it what you want, you can kind of inform it about exactly what it is you want going forward. So those are kind of the 6 key principles we're going to use in our kind of exercises here today as we take a look at some social media prompts, we take a look at some email prompts, and we take a look at maybe a year-round marketing strategy we might use for our health insurance firm. I want to pause here for any clarifying questions you might have. Go ahead and put them in the chat. I'm also going to switch screens over to Claude so we can start our conversation with him, however you want to characterize the AI. Okay, seeing no questions, we will go ahead and press forward again with this semi-live demo. And the reason it's a semi-live demo is that because we're using a free plan here, I want to be transparent about that. There are some usage limits associated with that plan. In that it won't let you make it do really complex tasks over and over again, because everyone's trying to take advantage of the free plan here. So you may be timed out on some of the requests you make, or you might say, come back in a few hours to continue this conversation. So just want to make you aware of that these are conversations I've had with the AI over the past few days or so to get ready for this session going forward. So we're going to walk through this first post here. Again, we are looking to create some social media material for our agency here in this case. So everything here in the gray box or the brownish tan box is things that I have said to the AI. Everything in white here is everything the AI has replied to me. So I want to break down this first prompt here and show you how specificity got it close to where I want it to be for this particular conversation. So I tell it, I'm a health insurance agent. Help me write a compelling Facebook post to attract new customers who are aging into Medicare. Invite them to call me to explore their options and use the principles of David Ogilvy and similar writers to guide the copy. Ask me any questions you need before you start. So I've told the AI, in this case, I've told Claude, who I am or what role I want it to be. I've told the format that I want to write in. I want to write it in Facebook posts here. I've told it who my audience is, new customers that are aging into Medicare. And again, I'm trying to I'm telling them about their options here and want them to talk to me. Down at the bottom of this prompt here, I've used, asked if they use the principles of David Ogilvy. And if you are not a marketing student, David Ogilvy is probably one of the fathers of advertising, writing, and so on and so forth. And were I to not ask the AI to write in that style or use those principles, I'd get a little bit more robotic sounding copy. So as kind of a cheat code, if you go forward here, or if you want to experiment on your own, try it without that prompt, then try it with that addition to the prompt, and you're going to see a little bit of a mix in your results going forward. The other key thing I want to point out here is that I let the AI ask me some questions before we start. And this really helps it zero in on who I am and what I want it to do. So it asked me whether I specialize in any particular Medicare plans, whether it's Advantage, Supplement, or so on and so forth. It asked me where I work, right? That's helpful for it to know if I want to create a Facebook ad. It asked me what sets me apart compared to other agents in my area, and if I'd like to include any time-sensitive tools. And as we go down, I gave it some responses here. I offer comprehensive guidance across all products, and I serve Southeast Michigan. I don't personally have 25 years of experience, but our hypothetical agent does. And we'd like to encourage folks who are turning 65 to contact me. So what it ends up giving here is this document where it takes a combination of that initial prompt plus the questions I've asked and spit out something that looks like this. Turning 65 soon, don't let Medicare fusion cost you, rather. Choosing the wrong plan can be paying thousands more than you should. With 25 years of experience helping Southeast Michigan seniors navigate Medicare, help you find coverage that fits your needs and budget. No pressure, no confusing jargon, just straight answers about these 4 product lines. My service doesn't end after enrollment. I'm here for you year round. Call me, at this phone number for a free, no obligation consultation. And honestly, that's a fairly compliant, good crack at it, but we also always know that there's an opportunity for a human touch, and a need to iterate here on this one. It also tells me that it uses some of those principles from David Ogilvy to help frame the copy here, and shows me how it did that as well. One thing I didn't like, and I'm a firm believer, this is just my personal belief, is that PSs aren't valuable. If it's important enough to be on the paper, it's important enough to be in the main copy as well. So I asked it to go back and eliminate that and incorporate that in the new copy. And as we did so, if we open up that particular response that it puts for me, you can see that it does eliminate that PS and frame that in for us earlier. The other thing that's often powerful with social media posts is incorporating an image. So I asked Claude simply to suggest an image to accompany this post, and it gave me a kind of a text description of a image that could work for us here. A mature couple using Relax and Engage, doing some homework. It thinks it could resonate with our target demographic here while conveying trust and comfort. That's an option. Or it gave us, an alternative of a simple icon showing shields or hearts with the Medicare symbols, right? And here I guess is the first spot we want to point out that AI is not aware or doesn't always comply with Medicare rules or marketing rules or any insurance marketing rules first time around unless you tell it to do so. So we know, that it can't use the Medicare symbol in this ad or in this post here. But I did ask it to go ahead and create an image, and I don't love it. Right, generative AI is growing here, but it with the right amount of detail and flexibility here, it can do so. So it gave me this at first option. No way I would attach that to a post. But I said, you know what? Try that heart again. The curves at the top are not distinct enough. It didn't look like a great heart. So it tried again and gave me curvier hearts up here, and went going and said, you know what? That dip between the curves wasn't distinct enough here, and it tells me, it gave me a third try at that as well. It did exactly what we wanted to do here, but again, wasn't great, and maybe not an image I'd use on this post. So could I go back to stock imagery? Yes. Could I ask it to create a different image? Yes, but these are some options, right, that we can use to prompt it and show kind of that iterative power that continuing the conversation goes. And so if there was one thing to take away from this particular conversation about the social media post, well, two things to take away. One, the more specific the prompt, the better. And two, the more you interact, right? The more you kind of say that first attempt wasn't good enough. It wasn't what I was looking for. I need this XYZ out of it. The more likely it is to get closer to what you want. Want to pause here to check out the chat for any questions you might have here. Comments or curse words are also welcome if you have those. And while you are typing, I'm going to go to a second thing we want to talk about here today, and that's that email campaign. Sorry about that. I thank you, Dan. So that train of thought said, the second thing we can take a look at here is email sequences. So a social media post is kind of a one and done thing. But maybe I'm looking to play the long game. I know that it takes 7 or 8 times for someone to hear something, for someone to learn something, for them to really internalize that. So maybe I do want to plan out an email sequence to follow up after busy season here, right? Whether it's open enrollment for my group plans, whether it is AEP, whether it's OEP, I want to look for some opportunities to A, give my clients better protection, but B, earn some commissions, and C, I need to make that really, appealing to them as well. So I go into this, frankly, with quite a similar prompt. We're just changing a few things about it here. So I'm a health insurance agent. Help me write a compelling email sequence encouraging my current clients to add supplemental health coverage like a critical illness or accident plan. Invite them to call me to explore their options, and again, use the principles of David Ogilvy and similar writers to guide the copy. The sequence should be at least 3 emails, provide suggestions for timing and spacing of these messages, and again, ask me any questions that you need. And again, asking the questions is a key part here because it did ask me, a few things that I didn't include in that first prompt. It asked me about premium range and asked me if that would be okay to write about. It asked me whether I have data on common claims or payouts that help to demonstrate value. And it also asked me whether there's specific demographics or life situations among my clients that could make them suitable for one product or the other. And what I know right away is, just to cover my own basis here, is that the premiums can run anywhere, but I don't want to get close to guaranteeing anyone a $10 or a $15 premium for this particular plan or anything of the sort. So I say, we don't want to use price points in this messages here. Better compare it to something else, like the less than the price of an ambulance ride or something of the sort, right? And while there is claims data out there, some hospital indemnity carriers, for example, do provide, and they're very proud of their claims data and what they pay out. Again, I want to play it close to the vest here and say, no, we don't have any claims data. We're not going to use that in this experiment here. But I do want to, help target the audience here. I want to, tell that accident policies could be a great fit for families who have children that experience injuries. My daughter is in parkour. She took a long jump and missed one of the landing mats and sprained her ankle. We landed in the urgent care for a bit. Accident policy helped kick in and pay for that, right? So a real life example for us. Critical illness policies could fit well for adults who are at risk for heart attack, stroke, or cancer. So again, another key audience point here for the message. Claude tells us thanks for the details and begins work on the sequence here. It tells us that it uses principles from Ogilvy, focusing on benefits rather than features. And let's show you a little bit about what it came up with here. It always starts at the bottom. So I scroll back up here to the top. So it gives me a compelling subject line here, right? It says your family's safety net might have gaps, and that could get someone to open the message here. Gives me a suggested timing, and it says, here's the word you could use. Life has a surprising way of surprising us when we least expect it. While your current health coverage provides essential coverage, I've seen how unexpected medical events can still create financial strain for families like yours. Even with excellent insurance, a single ER visit for a child's injury could mean thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket expenses. And as your agent, I want to make sure you're aware of affordable options to help with that. So I welcome the opportunity to have a conversation with you. You can schedule a time to chat by doing any of these things. Best regards, your name. And the reason that is a fairly lengthy email for the first one is because we're educating our clients about that, about the benefit in general, especially if we didn't have the opportunity to do it the first time around. I like what it does the second time around here too, in the second message though, why families in your area are adding this protection, and it gives you a suggested timing for that, 5 days after that first email. And here, you're looking again at families who are surprised to learn about gaps in their health coverage, and it's making up an example, which again, this is where you need a human touch. A client told me how grateful they were for their supplemental coverage. Extra coverage helped me with these 4 items here. And they complement your existing health coverage. Again, invites your clients here for a chat. And then the third message here is 7 days later, provides you a subject line and a shorter message, again, to give your client some attention. And it also gives you a follow-up email to use if there's no response to those messages. So again, you yourself, as an insurance agent, probably sending those things, or maybe hopefully sending those things to your clients as well. But if you need some ideas on where to start, again, the big takeaway here from this particular product is that the generative AI can help you kind of lay out your ideas, lay out your copy, and help you say the same thing in a few different ways that may make it more compelling for your audience to read. Gives you a few practices to take a look at here, like A/B testing or personalizing with specific information here as well, and gives you some suggested send times. But those messages generally worked for me, but I want to see if it could do something different for me. So I asked it this time, the audience is seniors with the Medicare Advantage policy, and I want to discuss how hospital indemnity policies can offset their inpatient copays. But again, because earlier I asked Claude to ask me questions, it asked me a set of questions again. So it asked me about typical hospital copay amounts. It asked me about any benefits I want to highlight, like for ICU stays or anything of the sort. And are there any objections we can handle as part of the sales process here as well? So I gave it some answers here. I gave it some sample copays, gave it some sample ambulance benefits, surgery riders and PT riders, and saw that we often see objections to cost, or they don't see the need for the plan. People are kind of generally happy with the protection they have here. And again, the AI delivers with a similar sort of message here, gives you some ideas of what they could spend in copays, gives you some ideas of how we can save money on those, and highlights the coverage details that I was interested in here. And again, has a similar structured campaign going forward. But as we kind of take a look at those subject lines, I'll bring those up once again, because that's one thing I wanted to take a look at here. Important information about your hospital coverage might not compel folks to answer that. Local seniors are protecting their savings. Again, might not compel your clients to answer that. So what I wanted to do was go back, and I wanted to tactfully create some urgency. I wanted to give people a reason to open those messages. And it gave that a try. It said, but I didn't really like what it did here either, right? It used this big flashing caution sign and Medicare notice, your hospital costs could exceed $2,000. And gosh, that doesn't feel very compliant at all, right? It's high pressure, high risk, not something I'd like out of it. Don't let hospital costs drain your savings like they did to Mary. Your hospital co-pays could be $0, limited time to review options. For me, again, those edge right on the borderline of compliance. I'd rather play it a little bit risky or a little bit safer here. So ask it to take the urgency down a notch, no emojis, please. And it gives me a better way to manage your hospital copays, how local seniors are handling hospital expenses, and understanding your hospital coverage gaps, which felt a little bit better to me overall. Still needs a little bit of tweaking probably to really work for my audience, but is a better result. And when we were done, we asked it to combine that with the rest of the document. And now I have an email campaign ready to go for both my individual and family clients and my Medicare clients to really help build relationships, show them the value I can add, and selfishly try to add some commissions on as well. So I want to pause here for any questions or comments you might have as we take a look at our shift to our third example. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this one here. One of you did ask about the pop-up that was here about long chats may hit your usage limits, and you're exactly right. The way these AI platforms work, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, Jasper, or anything or else, before it responds to your current question or the most recent question in this individual chat thread, it goes back and reads the entire chat thread to kind of train itself on what's going on, what's happening, and make sure it delivers an answer that you are as close to, at least, to what you're expecting. And so the longer a chat gets, the more reading it has to do, the more writing it has to do, and the more of the AI's processing power you end up using, which is a faster way to meet your usage limits. Claude, for example, somewhere between 4 and 10 messages an hour, depending on exactly what you're asking it to do. So the last example we want to take a look at here is health insurance agent's content marketing strategy. So again, I'm an agent. I need help creating my marketing strategy to educate prospects and invite me to call me for consultations. I currently use Facebook, a blog, and direct mail for my marketing activities. Help me develop a year-long calendar for outreach and provide relevant and timely topics for that calendar. Include a good mix of top of the funnel, middle funnel, and bottom funnel content. And for each item and where possible, provide copy points in the style, again, of David Ogilvy to kind of mimic the kind of writing I want it to do. And ask any questions you have before you begin. So it does ask me again about what types of health insurance I primarily sell. It asks me about my most successful content so far to help build on what works. Ask me about my geography and whether I have any specific goals in terms of consultation or preferred types of clients to attract. And for this example, we sell Medicare and individual family plans. I do note, though, that people seem to engage when I post about my personal life, whether it's pictures of family, friends, or things that are happening in the office. Work in Southeast Michigan and like to work toward 50 new clients this year with an emphasis on Medicare consultations. So it gives us detail here, and it gives us a calendar. Again, it tells us what to try to do here. So leverage that success with personal content, aligns with Medicare and ACA enrollment periods, and we'll touch on that in a moment. Talks about some seasonal health concerns for Michigan and targets 50 of your new clients through consistent touch points. And if I come back to the top of that artifact here, we can take a look at what it does. So for Q1 here in January, it suggests some top of funnel content to me. And top of the marketing funnel content is folks who are maybe not aware that they're in the market yet, or they're not aware of you yet as a health insurance agent. So it suggests a blog, 5 winter health tips for Michigan seniors. And it says, last winter, 3,400 Michigan seniors slipped on ice. Here's how to protect yourself and your Medicare coverage. I have a lot of problems with that. We'll come back to that in a moment. And it does say, you know what, you can include a personal story about helping your grandmother stay active in winter, maybe with the help of silver sneakers or another fitness benefit as well. Gives me an example of some middle of funnel content with the Meet Your Agent series, where I get to share photos and stories from my holiday celebrations, pilot success stories, and tell us a little bit about what you've done. And the bottom funnel of the content, people who are ready to buy or might be ready to buy your New Year insurance checkup. Your health plan should work as hard as you do. Schedule your free consultation today. Good idea, but in January could be a little bit late for folks to enroll. In February, it gives me a little bit of the same, but it focuses on the bridge, for Valentine's Day. Everything is heart health related, love your health, so on and so forth. Gives me a lot of ideas here and does the same for March. But there's a few things I noticed here, but I wanted to kind of see what else it would do. Give me these similar topics for quarters 2, 3, and 4. And it provides, again, some in quarter 3, ACA pre-enrollment education, also does some Medicare education down below here as well. It gives me some ideas for Facebook content, like explaining insurance terms, deductibles, copays, so on and so forth. Share videos from me in the office explaining those concepts. Not a bad idea in general. Talks a little bit about early bird coverage reviews, which could be a good idea kind of earlier on as you're kind of looking at how they're using their coverage. Maybe it's a good mid-year touch point here as well. In August, you get some back to school content across. In September, again, you get some opportunities to talk about what might be new. And in fourth quarter, it suggests some AEP relevant content, Medicare annual enrollment, your complete guide for a blog, maybe to start a Medicare Monday series on Facebook. And again, kind of builds content again through the rest of the year, all of which you can take or leave. But what you might have noticed throughout that, what I noticed for sure, is that the way I said that I used my blog, Facebook, and so on and so forth, it only produced top of funnel, middle funnel, and bottom funnel direct mail content in those three channels, kind of in those orders. So I asked it to come back to me with some more variety. And you might have seen it use words like best and better coverage and so on and so forth. No bueno in Medicare and really the ACA markets as well. So I give it some alternative language to use instead. You can help someone find the right fit for a plan that fits their needs, but you can't say things like best plan or better plan. Not allowed in writing, not allowed in speech either. So it comes back, and again, well, it's very apologetic, first of all, about varying the channels and apologizing for its compliance oversights, and tries that again for the first quarter going forward. Again, gives me some new, keeps sort of the themes in place, but now we're a little more compliant here. Did you know Medicare covers some prevention services? Let's talk about staying safe this winter. That could work it for our existing clients. I asked it to go on and expand for the rest of the quarters here. But also know that it does make mistakes, and when you can call it out on it, it will correct it. So I noticed the Medicare Monday post fell on a Wednesday. So I asked it to override that and go back and correct that. And it does go back and do so. But then I was curious about these Medicare Monday posts that I was working on. Could it create sample posts for each theme? And it certainly does. So it comes up with things like, did you know that 82% of Michigan Medicare beneficiaries aren't using their free fitness benefits? Your Medicare coverage might include Silver Sneakers membership at 247 Michigan locations. Or last year, 6,700 Michigan seniors skipped their wellness visit because they weren't sure about their coverage. Medicare's AEP starts on October 15th. Last year, 57% of my clients found plans that reduced their cost. It gives you examples for this Wednesday theme that came up here as well. And some ideas here we can take a look at. And again, it has a Family Friday theme that it worked on as well. Remember, we said that personal content seemed to resonate best with our audience. So we can take a look at, showing off that you've helped 473 Michigan families, or the average doctor visit is $147, which I have a problem with as well. And again, there's some spotlight things here. So it gives you a bunch of different examples about what you can use here, or the average Michigan deductible, which again, I asked it to think about here as well. So I noticed that, right, that it's just creating numbers, and I want to know how accurate they might be. And this is the big takeaway from this particular conversation, is that it does research, but I asked it to provide some citations, and it tells me when I called it that it generated those statistics as examples and should not be used without verification. So user beware, when it includes statistics, they could be made up, and most likely are. So I challenged it on that and asked it to go back and revise those, and it did do so with more verifiable facts and more general educational content. So we got down to, got away from language about how many Michigan seniors use slip and falls, or how many Michigan seniors are not using their plan. We got away from some of the language it used here about nutrition benefits and specific nutrition benefits. So we were one step closer to truthful and compliance here. Then after we did some more work, some more conversation together, I asked it to take a look at those strategies, put that together in the big old document, and it does put together the document, put it together at the same level of detail for me here. Gives me quarters 1 and 2 and quarters 3 and 4 as well in this big old marketing strategy document. And what I appreciate about this is when it because we worked on Facebook examples before and asked them to include it within the content calendar, now I know exactly what my post might look like in July. When I'm trying to simplify insurance terms, understanding deductibles, a deductible is the amount you pay for covered services before your insurance begins to pay. Let's explore coverage options that fit your budget. So now I've got a really good idea of what could go where in my content calendar. So that took a lot of conversation, a lot of prompting to go back and forth to get it to write how I wanted to, to sound how I wanted it to, and to make sure it was using some of the rules, like don't use superlatives, don't use numbers you can't verify, so on and so forth. And knowing that, I wanted it to do a little further work here and create a style guide based upon this final document. The benefit of the style guide is I can copy and paste these rules that it developed here about how I want it to sound: knowledgeable but approachable, personal but professional, clear but caring. That it leads with benefits, focuses on you. It remembers what I said about compliance. It remembers what I said about language that you can't use, no guarantees, no superlatives, no pressure tactics. Remembers all those things. And if I can copy and paste that and do something like this, that's the style guide. I can paste it here into the chat window here, and say, these are the rules I want you to work on, by pasting the style guide in, and then give it a new prompt. Like maybe I want to work on the About Us page from the website. It knows, it has a good starting ground for where you want to start, where you want to go, and what exactly it should sound like, and what goals it should work toward when it's going forward with that particular task. And it does end up actually producing some content that follows that. I'm ABC Benefits. We understand your health coverage needs are unique since 2019. And again, we're talking about local expertise, personal touch. We're talking about, we're using compliant Medicare language here that shows our value. We're using compliant language that talks about our individual and family plans, and showing off our commitment to our clients, that we're multilingual, so on and so forth. And does include an effective call to action down here below. Again, all using styles from David Ogilvy, that writer I've been kind of pumping up throughout today's session. So those are kind of like the key things I wanted to show you here today. I'm going to go back to the presentation here for a moment after this semi-live demo. But please feel free to put any questions or comments you have in while we go back there, and happy to answer them. Okay, back on the screen here. If we're done with that demo, again, that brings us toward the end of our conversation here today. But again, I wanted to kind of highlight those things that we talked about here today. It was important to get the products that we were looking for to use, be specific in our prompts, to make sure we told it what role we wanted it to play, that we're a health insurance agent, who it was writing for, whether it was prospects or current clients, what we wanted it to produce for us, that format, social media post, blog, so on and so forth, what we wanted to write about. Detailed first prompts are always better because they got us close to where we wanted to be with some minimal questions here. Always encourage you to, again, have it ask you questions and keep that dialogue going. Ask it questions, make it do stuff to refine the product to get to where you want. Again, knowing that everything needs a critical eye from you, but you can always have it kind of create a style guide based on the conversation, or create some rules based on the conversation you've had. So it gets you to where you want to be a little bit faster the next time around. All that said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again for your time and attention here today. Hopefully, for those of you folks who might have heard of this before but haven't yet tried it, you've got some ideas about where you might want to go. Or if you've tried it but haven't seen results that you want, maybe a little bit closer, have a few ideas for how to massage the AI to get a little bit more about what you are looking for. You can always reach us here at Action Benefits, at the Action Benefits Company. Find us at learning@actionbenefits.com. or reach out to us at 248-356-8585. I'm happy to stick around for any questions or comments you might have, but I will stop the recording here just so there's not a bunch of dead air for folks who might be watching this presentation a little bit later on. But please feel free to ask anything you have about this or anything else that is on your mind.